I've heard so many complaints of people playing solo queues saying they are constantly forced into roles they are uncomfortable with, resulting in them playing worse than they would on another character. However, finding out which hero you are truly good with isn't always the easiest task, especially if you switch around as much as most solo queuers do, so today we're going to discuss right that. We'll talk about what constitutes as a main, how you can find yours, what is beneficial about it, and try to see if we can find some more hidden potential in you. So let's get right into it. Before we get into the subject of mains, let's talk about the available roles the players of a team can identify with. Most of them are pretty straightforward, the last one seems to be rather unknown, while most people actually do fall into this category. So, as you expected, we got supports, tanks, and DPS roles. In this case, any character that is not a support nor a tank constitutes as a DPS character. We do not distinguish between attack and defense hero. The last role available is called Flex. As the name suggests, this role falls into the hands of a player that flexibly switches to whatever hero is needed throughout a match. In this video, we'll not talk about the professional teams, and instead take a more realistic approach, taking your average player solo queuing most of the time, and queuing with one or two friends on occasion. So don't worry about what flex players, or really any players, do in the pro scene. As it stands, the pro meta has little to no influence to us on the ladder. Okay, so let's put an example on those roles. In my usual setup of 3, I am joined by one of my friends who primarily plays tank and another one who primarily plays support. I, as a flex player, will usually be sitting on a DPS character and switch to whatever kind of damage we need throughout a match. The advantage we have with our setup is that we as a 3-man stack can fill one of each role necessary for our 2-2-2 composition. However, since one of our players is not a dedicated DPS but instead a flex player, we are also prepared for a situation in which one of our 3 randos is not able to fill a support or tank role sufficiently. The job of the flex player is not to be amazing at every single role, he's supposed to fill a gap more than anything else. Just recently I had a game on King's Row where I couldn't play characters I considered my mains and instead played McCree. What I've done by that is allowing everyone else in my team to play heroes they are strong with. Me insisting on playing support in this case could have resulted in a chain reaction causing our entire comp to change, maybe even having multiple players lock into characters that they're just not good with. So by me biting the bullet and playing McCree, I managed to fill the comp. Now here's what's important to note. As some of you might be able to judge by footage I showed in the past, I am not an amazing McCree by any stretch of the imagination. With a career average of 44% accuracy and an observed average of 38 to 56 per match, me playing McCree can just barely do the trick. However, if a game boils down to needing an exceptionally good McCree, I would fail the team, and that's the downside of a flex player. They are perfect to fill a gap in your comp and do their job sufficiently, however, since they're switching their heroes around so much, they never really master any. Alright, now that we discussed in detail which roles there are to fill, let's talk about what constitutes as a main and how you can find yours. Do keep in mind that this guide is not directed at players with 100 hours in competitive. Obviously, if you spend that much time on ranked, you probably already know yours. Alright, so a main is a hero that you feel comfortable with playing in almost every single situation. You know all the strengths of your character, how to best utilize their kit, and you are aware of their weaknesses and how to negate them. Ideally, you'd spend a lot of time playing this character in a competitive environment, and by that have built up a decent amount of experience in a variety of unfavorable situations, giving you vast knowledge of how to deal with your hero's counters. Now, the reason I mention competitive environments specifically is because quick play does not give you anywhere near the experience you have on ladder. You won't ever be stumbling upon 6 Torbjorns or 4 Genjis playing ranked, therefore all of the experience you build up is not very useful. However, that doesn't mean that it won't help you mechanically. Obviously, you have to start somewhere, and that's quick play. You get to learn how to handle your hero's kit, and that's certainly not to be neglected. Usually I would say that finding your main is more of a gut feeling than anything else. The way I found mine was simply by me playing them a lot, enjoying my time and being very effective. It is worth reinforcing that quick play skills do not necessarily translate into rank though. Hanzo is my second most played character in quick play. I am fairly confident on him and usually do really well, but that's against troll comps, people not taking the game seriously, and so on. Me being able to quick play kill Pharahs and Winstons with ease doesn't mean I'll be able to do the same thing on ranked, simply because teams are much more coordinated and actually take the game seriously. The best way for you to find your main is by stopping to be a flex player. I know a lot of people yell angrily about how you don't have a main and you have to be flexible or else you're useless, but that's not really accurate at all. At this point in time, if you spend some time in ranked, you'll likely have a couple characters that you feel you do better on than others. In this case, you should try to build up more experience with them. Play them excessively in quick play to master them mechanically, and then try to translate those skills into your ranked matches. There you can build up your portfolio of experience with this particular hero until you feel completely confident. There are also some skills that might be translatable to other heroes, so let's go through some examples, shall we? If you consider yourself a Widow main but always get yelled at by your teammates, try playing other precision-based characters. If you're such a good Widowmaker, you probably have some pretty good aim and reaction time. Heroes like McCree and Anna might suit you very well. If you're a really good Pharah main, you probably have a decent bit of knowledge on how to handle movement prediction in conjunction with your projectiles. A hero that might suit you well could be Mei. If you land your icicle headshots consequently and learn how to properly use your ice barrier to split the enemies in half, you'll be an absolutely deadly force. If you're a Mercy or Lucio main, maybe give Zarya a shot. Support mains often have a great sense for their surroundings and a good eye for their teammates. If you can translate that into timing your protective barriers on teammates properly, you're already a good bit ahead of being a good Zarya. Everything else about her either does or doesn't come naturally. Now we talked so much about what a main is and how you can find yours. What about all the people saying that having a main is stupid and only makes you a burden for your team? Well, they are not wrong if you are the kind of prick who insists on playing only a single hero, and that's really all there is to it. You don't usually have one main, you probably have 3 or 4, maybe even 5, and if you didn't really find them yet, it's about time. Listen, there's nothing wrong with you being exceptionally wet on one particular hero, but if you insist on playing that and by that force your team to build a comp around you, you might as well force the other 5 people in your team into roles they're garbage at. You see, it doesn't matter how good you are on your main if everyone else in your team plays heroes they are bad with. Overwatch is not a game that allows one to simply carry no matter how good you are, and it's not like all of your mains have to be in a single category. Of course, if you happen to be good at one hero in each category, that makes you a very flexible person, but that can't necessarily be forced. I, for example, consider myself an Anna, Zenyatta and Zarya main. Since I have so much experience as a flex player though, I can still draw from a huge pool of experience with other heroes, including Lucio, Soldier 76, Junkrat, and if I have a really good day, maybe McCree. But I also know not to ever pick heroes like Tracer, Reaper or Mercy, since that's when I'm least effective. And that's really all it is about. Know your strengths and weaknesses and try to work something out with your team so that everyone can play heroes they are strong with. It is always better to be exceptionally good at a few things than being okay at everything. Alright guys, this is me done for the day. Feel free to leave all of your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Leave me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you guys next time.
I'm like 4.
What up with your mic, dude?
It sounds like there's a shock, if you will.
Fuck you, oh my god.